Have you ever wondered why some men walk into a room and instantly shift the energy while others are barely noticed at all? You might think it's the suit, the height, or the car keys dangling from their hand. But it isn't. It's something deeper, something far more subtle, something women notice before you even open your mouth. It's your presence. And the dangerous truth is, you've been missing the signals they've been sending about it your whole life. Think back to a time when you were standing in line, maybe at a cafe. A woman glanced at you, not for long, just a second. You convinced yourself it meant nothing. But in that 1 second, she registered everything. The way your shoulders were positioned, whether your eyes darted nervously or stayed calm, whether you occupied space like you belonged there or shrank back like you didn't want to be seen. That single glance told her if you were the kind of man she could admire or the kind she could control. Here's the harsh reality: women pick up on your presence faster and sharper than you do. And presence is not about looks or money. It's about the energy you transmit without saying a word. The way you sit across from her at dinner. The silence you hold when she tests you with a sarcastic remark. The way you respond not with over-eagerness, not with forced detachment, but with calm rootedness that says, I don't need your approval to know who I am. Most men miss this. You chase validation through over-explaining yourself, trying to prove your worth in every text, every joke, every story. And while you think you're charming her, what you're really doing is bleeding power. She feels it. And the more you try to close the gap with effort, the more she senses she can pull away and make you chase harder. Imagine this: you're on a date. She leans back, crosses her arms, and says, You know, you're not really my type. Most men panic inside. They crack a joke. They double their effort. They try to win her over. But the truth, that line was never about you being her type. It was about testing your presence. Do you crumble? Do you try harder? Or do you calmly smile, lean back yourself, and say, That's okay. I wasn't planning on fitting into a type. That calm defiance without anger, without begging, shifts the entire dynamic. Suddenly she sees you're not just another man chasing her shadow. You stand on your own ground. This is why presence matters. It is the invisible measure women use to decide if you're a man to respect or a man to toy with. And presence isn't built in the moment, it leaks through everything you do. The way you walk into a room, the way you make eye contact, the way you don't fill silence with babbling. She reads it all instantly. Now here's the tactical shift. Presence is not about pretending to be aloof. It's not about forcing silence or acting mysterious. That's a mask, and women see right through it. True presence is when your energy says, I'm not here to impress you. I'm not here to beg for a response. I already know who I am. And if you don't see it, that's your loss. How do you build that start with restraint? When she pulls away her attention, don't chase. When she throws a small insult, don't get defensive. When she tests you with silence, let it breathe. Men panic in these gaps. They feel they must fill the space or lose her. But women test to see if you can hold that space without collapsing. If you can, she feels a shift. Here is a man who won't dance to my tune. And that's when admiration begins. Think of the last time you over-explained yourself to a woman. Maybe she asked why you didn't text back right away. You probably rambled. Oh, sorry. I was busy. Then my phone died. Then I was at work. You thought you were showing honesty. She thought you were showing weakness. A stronger response, just, I was busy, period. No apology, no explanation. That presence, short, calm, unapologetic, creates weight. It makes her feel your time is valuable, your life is full, and you don't need her permission to live it. And here's the deeper truth: women already know the power of your presence before you do. They recognize the calmness in your body, the certainty in your words, the grounded energy you bring. They know whether you're a man others follow or a man who waits for direction, and they adjust their behavior toward you accordingly, sometimes testing, sometimes respecting, sometimes dismissing. The tragedy is that you walk through life blind to these signals, playing the game without knowing the rules. But you don't have to keep missing them. Start observing your own presence. The next time you walk into a room, ask yourself, do I shrink or expand? The next time a woman tests me, do I rush to explain, or do I let the silence do the work? The next time she pulls back, do I chase or do I lean back further and let her feel the gap? She already knows the answer. The question is, when will you catch up to what she's seeing? Have you ever caught yourself over-explaining to a woman and realized later it made you look weak? Tell me the story. What's the hardest part for you when it comes to holding silence without panicking? Which mistake do you think you've made most often, chasing, over-talking, or over-giving? Be honest in the comments. You think attraction is about what you say, the stories you tell, or the jokes you deliver. But the truth is, she's not listening to the words as much as she's feeling the current beneath them. Women recognize presence before logic ever enters the room. And here's where most men sabotage themselves. They keep giving away signals of insecurity without realizing it. You might think you're just being polite, just being attentive, just being nice. But to her, it reads like one thing: you don't believe you're enough. Picture this. You're sitting across from a woman at dinner. She sets her phone on the table, screen up, and every few minutes, it lights up with messages. She doesn't pick it up. She just lets it glow. You notice, you feel that sting inside. Do you call it out? Do you sit in silence while your confidence slowly bleeds out? Most men, in that moment, make the worst mistake. They give away their power by reacting. They say, "Wow, you're really popular tonight." Or they get quiet and sulk, waiting for her to notice their mood. Either way, their presence collapses. She wasn't just checking messages, she was checking you, and you failed. The correct move: nothing. You keep eating. You keep talking, you keep your energy steady, as if the phone didn't even exist. Why? Because presence is about not being shifted by small storms. She wanted to see if she could tug your emotions, if she could disrupt your flow. When she realizes she couldn't, something happens inside her. Respect, admiration, a flicker of attraction she didn't plan to feel. That's presence. But let's go deeper. Presence is not just about ignoring games. It's about commanding space without apology. Too many men enter a room like guests in their own lives, quiet, careful, hoping not to upset anyone. You sit at the edge of the couch at a party. You fold yourself small on a train. You walk into a bar, scanning for approval before you even order. And every woman in the room sees it. They may smile politely, but their instinct already filed you under invisible. You can wear the best clothes, have the biggest muscles, but if your energy is apologizing for existing, you've already lost. Presence is built when you walk in and belong without asking, when you lean back into the chair instead of perching on the edge, when you take up space not aggressively, but with calm certainty, when your eyes move slowly, never darting. These are not tricks. They're reflections of inner solidity, and women can read the difference in seconds. Here's the psychology behind it. Women evolved to detect the emotional stability of men quickly. A man with unstable presence who reacts, who over-explains, who panics in silence, signals danger in the long run. He can't be relied upon when stress hits. A man with calm presence signals safety, leadership, authority. That's why she notices your presence before you do. Her instincts are trained too. Let me give you a real scenario. Imagine you're texting a woman you just started seeing. You send her a message. She leaves you on read for 3 hours. Your chest tightens. Your brain starts spinning. Did I say something wrong? Should I send another text? Should I try a joke? Many men cave and double text, trying to fill the silence. And in that moment, they kill the attraction. What she was really testing was your tolerance for uncertainty. Could you hold your ground? Could you stay centered while she pulled back? The man who doesn't react, the man who goes about his life, waits, and responds casually hours later, that's the man who builds respect. You need to understand presence is the battlefield, and silence is her weapon. If she can't rattle you with it, she can't control you with it. That's why so many men get trapped. They think presence is about saying more, doing more, proving more. But presence is the opposite. It's the art of doing less, saying less, and radiating more. It's the calm that comes when you know you're not auditioning for her approval. Here's the tactical takeaway. When a woman withdraws attention, pauses in the conversation, delays in her responses, throws out a small test, don't flinch, don't chase, don't fill the air. Wait. Let the silence grow roots. You'll feel the tension like a fire under your skin, but if you hold it, something shifts. She feels it. Suddenly, she realizes she's dealing with a man who can't be bent so easily, and that realization can change the entire dynamic. The reason you've been missing this is because you keep looking for verbal cues when the real game is being played in the space between words. She already knows what kind of man you are before you say a single thing. The only question is whether you'll learn to see what she's seeing or stay blind to it while she quietly decides your worth. Have you ever been left on read and felt that desperate urge to send another message? Did you? What happened? What's the hardest part for you, holding silence, resisting the chase, or trusting your own value when she pulls back? Share your experience below. Most men think they lose women because they weren't funny enough, tall enough, rich enough, or bold enough. But the truth is far simpler and far more brutal. They lost her because their presence collapsed in moments that mattered. Presence isn't tested when everything is smooth, when she's laughing at your jokes, when the conversation flows. It's tested when she pulls away, when she throws resistance at you, when she challenges the very core of how you hold yourself. And in those moments, every tiny crack in your self-belief becomes visible. She doesn't just notice, it shapes how she sees you forever. Think of a time you were out with a woman and another guy interrupted. Maybe it was a waiter who lingered too long with a smile, or a stranger who joked with her while you stood there. Did you freeze up? Did you laugh nervously? Did you retreat into yourself, hoping she wouldn't notice your discomfort? You might think it was a small moment, but to her, it was a window into your essence. She saw whether you could hold your ground, whether you had presence strong enough to stay centered when someone else entered the frame. And if you couldn't, if your energy shrank even slightly, she felt it and something inside her cooled. The danger is you don't even realize it's happening. You tell yourself, it was nothing, just a moment. But women are not grading you on isolated moments. They're reading the consistency of your presence. They're asking, does he fold when the room shifts? Does he fight for attention? Or does he remain grounded, like a man who doesn't need to perform, who doesn't need to scramble for validation? Let's break this into something you can use immediately. When another man enters the picture, your instinct might be to tense up, to measure yourself against him, to compete. That reaction is what kills you. The move isn't to fight harder for her attention. The move is to stay calm, to let your body relax even more, to show her with your stillness that you're not threatened. You don't need to prove anything because you already know who you are. This is presence in its purest form, not the loudest man in the room, but the one who doesn't shift when the wind changes. Another trap: overinvesting emotionally too fast. You think giving more will secure her interest. You buy the extra gifts. You send the long texts. You pour your feelings into her before she's even shown you if she deserves them. And what happens? She pulls away. She tells you she needs space. She loses the spark. Not because you weren't enough, but because you gave her everything before she earned any of it. Presence isn't just about what you project, it's also about what you withhold. A man with presence doesn't spill his entire soul in the first week. He lets her wander. He lets her earn access. He values his emotions the same way he values his time, not cheap, not free, not given without reason. Let me make this real with an example. A guy I knew, Mike, was seeing a woman he really liked. On the second date, she casually mentioned that her ex was in the same bar they were in. She said it just to see what he'd do. Most men would stiffen, maybe make a snide comment, maybe even try to drag her out. Mike didn't flinch. He leaned back, took a sip of his drink, and said, "That's fine. I'm not here for him." Then he kept talking about whatever they were discussing before. No change in tone, no overreaction. The next day, she texted him first. Why? Because his presence told her everything. He wasn't competing with ghosts. He wasn't desperate to prove his worth. He was solid. That single moment carried more weight than any bouquet of flowers or flattering compliment ever could. Presence is not about controlling her, it's about controlling yourself. It's about building an energy so steady that nothing outside of you can shake it. Women recognize it instantly because it's rare. Most men are either too eager, too reactive, or too defensive. Very few can sit in the storm, smile, and remain unmoved. That's why when you develop this, it feels almost unfair. Suddenly she's chasing. Suddenly she's leaning in. Suddenly she respects you in ways you've never experienced before. Not because you became better in her eyes, but because you finally became untouchable in your own. So here's your practical strategy. The next time you feel the urge to explain yourself, stop. The next time silence makes you panic, hold it. The next time another man enters her orbit, relax even more. These micro moments are where presence is forged. Every time you resist the urge to chase, every time you resist the urge to prove, every time you hold your ground instead of folding, you build an energy she can't ignore. You've been missing these moments all your life. She hasn't. She's been watching. The question is, how much longer are you going to let her see a man who doubts his own presence instead of one who owns it completely? Have you ever tried to buy your way into a woman's affection with gifts or effort and watched her respect vanish anyway? What did you feel in that moment? What's harder for you, holding back when you want to give more, or staying calm when another man tests your ground? Share it with me in the comments. Here's what most men never realize until it's too late. Presence isn't about what you're doing. When things go right, it's about what you're not doing when things go wrong. Women notice the gaps, the pauses, the subtle collapses in your energy that you brush off as just being human. But to her, every tiny crack in your composure tells her whether you're the man who stands firm or the man who folds. And the reason you keep missing this is because you're busy focusing on the surface while she's reading the depth. Take this scenario. You're out at dinner, and she suddenly grows cold. Her answers shorten. She looks away more than she looks at you. Most men panic. They start asking if something's wrong. They crack nervous jokes. They work overtime to pull her back into warmth. But what she's doing isn't always about being upset. Sometimes she's watching, testing, measuring. Can you hold your frame when her energy shifts? Can you sit in the discomfort without clawing for reassurance? The man who starts chasing her attention loses it. The man who stays calm, eats his food, and carries on without demanding validation. That's the man she can't easily shake. It's the same in text conversations. You know the game. She replies with a one-word answer. You feel the pressure. Do you double text, trying to reignite the spark? Do you send a meme, hoping for a laugh? Or do you match her energy and let the conversation breathe, even if it dies for the night? The last option feels terrifying because it feels like you're letting her slip away. But the truth, that's exactly what builds presence. You're showing her you don't live and die by her attention. You're showing her your value isn't dependent on a blue bubble. Women recognize this quicker than you imagine. They know the difference between a man who texts from groundedness and a man who texts from panic. They can feel the vibration of your presence through every word. And when they sense panic, even if it's wrapped in humor, gifts, or constant attention, they know they can steer you. When they sense calm, even if it comes with fewer words, they know they can't. That difference determines whether she feels admiration or control. And let's talk about control for a second. Women will never admit this outright, but they often push buttons just to see if they work. They'll pull away attention, they'll delay replies, they'll challenge your decisions, not always because they're malicious, but because they want to know what kind of man they're dealing with. It's instinct. If you react every time, if your presence evaporates under the slightest stress, she learns she can lead you. And once she knows she can lead you, attraction fades. Not because she hates you, but because she can't respect a man she controls. Presence solves this. Presence is when you don't flinch. When she criticizes your choice of restaurant, and instead of scrambling to please, you calmly say, "Good thing I like it here." When she withdraws affection for a night, and instead of begging, you live your life without complaint. When she tries to make you jealous, and instead of posturing, you smile as if the attempt bounced right off. These are the moments that forge respect in her mind. Not the compliments, not the grand gestures, not the long explanations. Just the steady pulse of a man who won't be moved off his center. But let's be brutally honest, you've failed this test before. We all have. You've chased when she went quiet. You've over-explained when she questioned you. You've begged for clarity when her mood shifted. And in every one of those moments, you felt smaller afterward. Not just because of her response, but because deep down, you knew you abandoned yourself. That sting you carry isn't just rejection, it's the memory of betraying your own presence. So what's the strategy moving forward? Learn to sit in tension. When she pulls back, resist the urge to close the gap. When she questions you, resist the urge to justify. When she challenges you, resist the urge to get defensive. Instead, do the opposite. Slow down, relax your body, speak less. Hold eye contact without force. Let silence breathe. It's not about playing games, it's about showing you're not emotionally fragile. And the irony is, when you stop fighting for her validation, she feels more drawn to you than ever. Here's the deeper layer. Women recognize your presence before you do, because they're not looking at your actions. They're reading your nervous system. They feel the tension when you're desperate, even if your words sound confident. They feel the calm when you're solid, even if your words are few. Presence leaks from the body, not the mouth. That's why you can't fake it. You either cultivate it, or you reveal its absence. So the next time you feel panic rising when she pulls back, when silence grows, when another man appears, use it as your training ground. Instead of scrambling, breathe. Instead of chasing, wait. Instead of folding, lean back. That's the discipline that builds presence over time. And once you own it, no woman can take it from you. Be honest. Have you ever felt that sting of betraying yourself by chasing too hard, over-explaining, or reacting out of panic? How did it change the way she looked at you afterward? Which test rattles you the most? Silence, criticism, or competition? I want to hear your story. Here's the final truth most men avoid because its uncomfortable presence isn't about impressing women, it's about mastering yourself. Every test, every silence, every challenge she throws your way is not really about her. It's about you. She's not asking, "Are you good enough for me?" She's asking, "Are you good enough for yourself?" And the reason you keep missing it is because you're too focused outward on her moods, her reactions, her approval, when the real battleground has always been inward. Think of the moments you regret most with women, not the times you got rejected before you even tried, but the times when you had her interest and lost it. The night you said too much, the morning you double texted, the argument you escalated because you couldn't stay calm. What hurts isn't that she walked away, it's that you betrayed your own strength, you abandoned presence, and once you do that, she doesn't just lose interest, she loses respect. And without respect, nothing else matters. Let me tell you why women recognize presence so quickly. It's not magic, it's not manipulation, it's survival. For centuries, women had to assess men instantly. Who could protect, who would crumble, who was dangerous, who was stable. That instinct never left. So when she glances at you, when she listens to your silence, when she watches your body under pressure, she isn't judging you, she's decoding you. And you, blind to your own signals, miss the verdict she's already written in her head. This is why presence is non-negotiable. You can buy the watch, build the body, stack the money, but if your presence collapses in the small tests, she will see right through you. And worse, you'll feel it too. You'll walk away from the date, the argument, the silence, with that pit in your stomach, knowing you played yourself. Because presence can't be faked. It can't be bought. It's earned every time you resist the urge to chase, to explain, to fold. Now, here's the closing shift. Stop thinking of presence as something you use on women. Presence is not a trick. It's not a performance. It's a way of being. When you cultivate it, it changes everything, not just how women see you, but how the world treats you and how you treat yourself. Your boss notices, your friends notice, strangers in a room notice, because presence is universal. It is the calm authority of a man who doesn't apologize for existing. And here's the paradox. The moment you stop needing women to notice your presence is the exact moment they can't ignore it. When your worth no longer depends on their approval, you become magnetic. When you stop filling every silence, stop chasing every glance, stop justifying every choice, you finally embody the weight they've been scanning for all along. That's when respect is automatic. That's when attraction becomes effortless. So how do you anchor this for good practice restraint in every interaction? Not fake detachment, not arrogance, but calm self-command. Let your words be fewer and heavier. Let your actions be slower and more deliberate. Let your silences stretch without fear. Stop explaining, stop begging, stop proving. When she tests you, breathe. When she pulls away, wait. When she challenges you, smile. Every time you do, you strengthen the muscle of presence until it becomes second nature. You will lose some women this way, the ones who feed on controlling men, the ones who thrive on weakness, the ones who only respect what they can dominate. And that's exactly the point. Because the women who stay, the women who lean in, the women who admire you, they'll be the ones who recognize the man you finally decided to become. Not because you played her game better, but because you refused to play at all. She didn't break you. She revealed what you were too afraid to protect.